Okay, this is RuPaul's Drag Race, Season 12, Episode 6, The Snatch Game. So I'm getting not an unreasonable amount of dislikes on these videos, but so I need to kind of clarify, I guess, that just because I have a criticism of someone doesn't mean that I think they're a bad person, or I'm going after them, I'm not tweeting anyone. And then also, if you don't like them, don't watch. Please don't. I mean, like, it's seriously, like, if you didn't like my last video, you're probably not going to like my current video. Because I have some opinions. So last week, a number of you were like, you have to watch Untucked, you have to watch Untucked. So this time I made a real effort to, normally what I do is I watch most of the show the night before. We put my toddler to bed. And then the next morning I get up before he gets up. And I try to watch the rest of the episode and record before he gets up. This time I made sure to watch Untucked. And I'm very glad I did because it really modified some of my enthusiasm for some of the things. It doesn't mean that they're not as good. It just kind of was a little bit like, oh, you know, between last Untucked, which I watched last night before the episode, then watched the episode, then watched Untucked this morning. So I really saw it all at once. And it's funny because I think we should relabel Untucked as how to make you a little less excited about your favorites, because that's what it did for me, and made me like some other people the more. So anyway, Britta's at the bottom again, and again is angry at Aiden. I don't know. This is what's really frustrating to me is they're all going after Aiden and Heidi. What's that about? But they all kind of gave Britta a pass, and I think. I can't prove it, but I'm wondering if there wasn't more at Britta, but Sherry was the main person behind that discussion, and I'll explain why when we get to Untucked. And since they're cutting Sherry out, which I think is the best case scenario, you lose part of the group discussion because of that. Never a good idea to focus on. Oh, so everyone's focused on Heidi and Aiden, and you will see this in any competitive show that I recap, and I've recapped a lot. I actually went back and looked, and I think RuPaul's Drag Race Season 6 was the first season I started recapping. I didn't finish a lot of seasons because I never really found a good audience for these kind of recaps, and I finally just started completing this season so that I at least got expressed to someone. John doesn't watch this show. I don't have any local friends. I actually just met someone a few weeks ago at my writers group who was into the show, and I was so excited. And then we were on lockdown, and so I'm back to having no one but my friends on the internet to talk to. So, Britta, I wrote Shady Boots. I wrote this when I watched the sneak peek, so I don't remember what that's about. Every once in a while I see Sherry and I forget that she's here, and it'll be this momentary shock. The first couple of episodes I was very aware that Sherry was in the show and was missing, and then recently with these most recent ones I totally forget. So this is the Snatch Game. Judy's, but you can't tell. I'm sorry, my notes are really bad. So we have Vanjie back this episode, which is nice. Sometimes I watch these recaps and I go, did I not see the whole episode? Because I think I missed stuff. Like I missed Broccoli coming back. So they go around and they talk to everyone. And this is always for me with Snatch Game. It's almost like a waste of time. It's not, because I want to hear them talk about it and why they picked it. But sometimes Ru is very concerned and they win. And sometimes Ru is very concerned and they're terrible. And sometimes Ru gives them just kind of basic feedback and they're fine. And I really felt like this is the same. It's the same as always. Sometimes they're very concerned and it works out just fine because it has almost nothing to do with who you pick. It can be an obscure person. We've seen several people, when Ben de la Creme did Paul Lynn, who is not someone who I am totally unfamiliar with, but it wasn't someone who, until I saw her impression, that I would even remember, and it was so funny, but it wasn't. Or when they did, I'm sorry, one, my husband is making a racket downstairs, and two, I'm having problems remembering names right at the moment. But we saw a number of people who did these sort of like, you have no opinion on characters, but then they make them like bisexual and super sexy and pregnant, and I'm totally blanking on who that was. And it worked so well, and you go, yeah, but it wasn't the character, it was the choices they made with it. And that is really like in this case, Gigi does a robot, which could be terrible, but made it sort of a sassy robot. And it was a great choice and it was really good. And they're all kind of getting on the ones who did badly about, you have the most time to prepare. And it's like, yeah, but by that logic, preparation doesn't always mean good. You know, this is an improv challenge. You can be totally, we see comedians, professional stand-up comedians, bomb all the time with new material. You don't think they prepared? You don't think that they know how to do it? So I get the criticism if someone showed up and was like, well, I really didn't bring a character. I thought I would wing it. Okay, that's terrible. But if you've prepared a character and it doesn't work, it just, you know what I mean? Like some people, you know what I mean? So I don't get the criticism. And what really don't like is the sanctimonious attitude of like, why can't you guys get your act together? It's like, because it's a hard competition. Do you think it would be a very interesting show if it was super easy? And I also think it's a little bit of hubris, and I think it's setting you up a little bit for a fall. And remember how that kind of, and I always say this, and you know, and I looked on Twitter, and I think I might be the only person with this opinion that I found. Well, I'll get to it with the Untucked. I'll wait till Untucked to get to it. But I will just say now that there are two competitions, and Untucked really bothered me. I keep saying I'm not going to get to it, but there's two competitions. There's to win the grand prize, which of course the money is nothing to sneeze at. But even more importantly is winning the hearts and minds. And Katya, I think, is the prime example of someone who never won the grand prize, but won the hearts and mind of America, and now has a long-going career. If I had to pick between one lump sum and ongoing work and something I'm passionate about, I would absolutely pick something I'm passionate. Not that I'll turn down the lump sum if anyone wants to give it to me. So anyway, they pick all of their people. You know, like we always have, Chad Michaels was going to do Shared. Everyone was like, oh, it's such a bad idea to pick someone that you have so much respect for. And it totally works. And we've had people like Jinx Monsoon picking the lady from Grey Gardens, who I knew of, but didn't know any of the references and were still hilarious. So picking someone known or unknown isn't a guarantee. I think the only guarantee is do not pick Beyonce or Lady Gaga, because no one's done them well so far, and I think they're cursed, especially Beyonce. Anyway, we go around. My opinion was, and this is what I wrote, not that you can see or believe me, is that I said, okay, Heidi, Jan, Widow, and Jaden were okay. Not bad, not outstanding. And those were the exact people who were safe. So I 100% agree with RuPaul's judging, because I even wrote ahead of time. Okay, I wrote no next to Crystal. I actually put Jackie, I put okay, and then later on gave her a thumbs up because, like they said, she just swung for everything and tried. I don't think they were all super funny, but they were good. And we are really splitting hairs. And they do say that in Untucked that it's such a talented season, and I really think it's one of the strongest overall seasons. And Aiden's biggest problem was the answer to everything was, I don't know. I have no idea. Was Sherry in the top? What I saw, what I put down is okay. I didn't see anything terrible. I didn't think anything stand out. My assumption has to be that she had some really great lines that we didn't hear. I wasn't overly wowed. I suspect that if we did see all of Sherry, that the audience would be not quite as enamored of her as RuPaul was, but we would understand why she was in the top. But it would always be, that is my suspicion. I can't possibly know because I haven't seen the footage. You haven't seen the footage. My guess, though, is the way that this is looking is that she's in the top 3. I'm just not enamored of her. Is it because I know things about her that make me just a little like, yeah, I mean, that could very well be, and I'm okay with that. Doesn't matter one way or the other. I will say that Gigi's line of "How very dare you" is something that I will want to use. The robot was so enjoyable and so good. That's why Untucked, I think, annoyed me. It was a frozen runway, and I personally felt like a majority of the outfits were okay, they were what you'd expect. They were glamorous, wonderful. There was nothing that took my breath away, but that might be because it was such a strong season. When everyone has the exact kind of outfit that you expect for a challenge, it really stands out. I agree with Aiden's just being not bad, but one step below in terms of it could have been more, but it's not bad. And I feel like that's Aiden, for me, the whole season, which is a little bit behind, but not terrible. And then Gigi comes out as fluid. Widow, I wasn't crazy about Widow's outfit. I felt like it was an interesting idea, but I just didn't quite land. So we end up with, I have to check out this digital drag fest and see what that's about. That was a commercial. So pretty much what I said. Jackie was in top. They didn't think everything landed, but she went for it, and she clearly had a formula that, I mean, she had a plan for bringing things out. Like I said, it was good. I'm not surprised it was in the top. Did it enchant me? Not as much as Gigi's robot, which was just the constant movement. It really landed. It really connected with the judges. Aiden, man, those contacts were distracting. So they were the cat's eyes contacts. So the cat's eyes, the irises, are like this. They were like doing this, and it was just looked like she was having a stroke in terms of like, that is not a good look. I don't know anything about those contacts. I don't know if that's common or if that was like a particularly bad thing. Britta, the outfit was okay. The way she did Jennifer Holliday was like, and I was like, is she supposed to be ill? Like, I'm not trying to joke. Come back to the stroke thing. Is she supposed to be having a stroke? I didn't think it was funny. I'm not surprised she was in the bottom. Crystal is Poppy. And that's where you really see that disconnect between you can be prepared and you can just not have the right timing. You can not have the right replies. That kind of thing. And then I guess Sherry was on the top. Like I said, I didn't see enough. I didn't enjoy what I saw. It wasn't bad. I guess there was a lot of people who just kind of did okay. Gigi wins, gets a 5K. I'm totally fine with that. And then it's Britta versus Aiden, which is exactly what I expect. They do Let It Go. They have snow. I checked because I was like, is the snow an after effect? No, you can see it on the ground of the runway. It wasn't, I mean, I would have been fine with him sending both of them home. I didn't feel like, it's not a, I don't know what I would expect. Neither one of them were just terrible. Britta did have a magic trick, which I guess is as good a time as any, you know. Do I think that makes a runway, I mean, a lip sync? No, but it was enough. Heidi was the only one to be like, I love you. And then we get into Untucked. So I'm going to kind of talk about last week's Untucked and this Untucked, which is, I am never a fan of the competitors focusing too much on their competitors. You know, you can't really do it. I think it's distracting in every season. It is a bad call. Remember when Raven was all over Tatiana? And Tatiana was wonderful. When Velasca Talks was all over Jinx, it kind of guaranteed Jinx to be. Then they have pushed this whole Britta Aiden thing, and I'm not into it. I'm not enjoying any of it. I didn't enjoy any of Untucked, and it made me like, this is how I would like to see it, is that I felt like Jackie and Gigi should have, I don't understand why they're going after Heidi. You know, like Gigi's saying, well, they don't like your face. And she says, well, that was one judge, which is true. And then the other judges agreed. Yeah, but that was like 3 weeks ago. I don't get why Gigi decided this was the fight that she needed to have. And then Heidi gets upset and leaves. And then Gigi goes over, and I thought she was going to be like, hey, I said that stuff, but it's because I think you're so amazing, or we're such a high caliber, which is kind of they kind of touched on that, like, we're just such a strong season, but they just didn't really come out and say, we think you're strong. And so it just, do I dislike Gigi? No, Gigi's amazing. Gigi's super strong. But it took a little tiny bit of the shine off Gigi for me. And I looked on Twitter, and I am clearly the only one who feels this way. But watching Untucked for me was a little bit like, really? You just killed this challenge. You and Jackie both just killed this challenge. Maybe you could just drink your drink and kind of back off, or, you know, offer actual advice like, well, have you tried this? Or, you know, this is something that I tried, or I don't know. It just kind of felt like the pack was separating into the strongs and the weaks. And one of the things I didn't really understand was, why are they giving Britta such a huge pass? Just because she's a big deal in New York? Okay, she might be a big deal in New York, but I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing that why she would get a pass from everyone. She's been the bottom every week. She's made excuses every week. She's managed to blame it on Aiden. I don't think they carried her in the 3 Girls, 1 Brain sketch. I don't see how they could have carried her. They were all talking at the same time. I didn't see how, why is it that when Gigi plays dead, it's amazing and brilliant, but when Aiden plays dead, her scene partners carried her. I think it's just been coincidence. I think editing has pushed through this dialogue so that we got to the final, but I didn't find it cathartic or a big payoff. Now, this is what I mean about the Sherry critique. I had to rewind 7 times because I didn't recognize the voice where Britta said, you know, I was entertainer of the year in New York City. And then Sherry said, do you think that's, what did she say? Something critical, like, do you think you're resting on that, or something like that. I had to literally rewind 8 times, turn on closed captioning to figure out who was saying it, because I forgot that Sherry was there, and so my eyes were kind of, I had to go until I found out whose mouth was moving. So there's the possibility that there was a whole other discussion with Sherry in the group with Britta about how doesn't matter what you are at home, it's what you are here. Are we missing something? Possibly. Do I blame, you know, them for cutting it out? No, because that's how they decided they're going to handle it. And that means you lose stuff. So, my notes were just Gigi and Jackie in a little sad face. I still really like them. I still think they're incredibly strong. I don't want them to go home. What I would have liked to see is maybe a little bit more compassion, and the whole, like, you have the most time to prepare. Okay, well, no one really struck me as unprepared. They just struck me as not very good at this challenge. And I know that's not an excuse and you can go home for it, but you know what I mean? Like, we all have weaknesses, and this is only one aspect. And yes, it's a very much beloved episode, but it's not the only episode. So for me, and I know I'm going to still get a ton of dislikes for this and probably comments, it just was uncomfortable to watch, and I didn't enjoy it, and it made me a little sad because I don't want to watch, you know. And then this is what annoyed me: the guest judges come in and are like, this isn't RuPaul's best friend race, you're here for yourself. And I'm like, yeah, but if the whole world watches you be a total douchebag to your competitors, you don't think they're going to maybe be a little less interested in buying your merchandise or going to your show? Not that I would turn down a show, but like the YouTube videos, there's queens that I don't watch their YouTube videos because I just don't, you know what I mean? Like, and it sticks with you. I mean, we look at like the Fifi O'Haras who, you know, go after, and not to say that either Gigi or Jackie are Fifi O'Haras, but it's kind of like, is this just a standout? Is this just this one episode where they kind of go a little bit too much and we're all just getting a little sick of the Aiden pile-on? Like, yeah, I wanted Aiden to go home. I thought it was the correct time for Aiden to go home. Do I want everybody to sit around and blame her for everything? No, it's not fun. And so that's my opinion. So I guess I'm just being wishy-washy and I should just wrap it up. So I'm really hoping to see, this will be the real test. What do we see now? Aiden's gone. No one can blame her for anything. What are we going to see from here on out? I personally like Heidi. I don't get why they were all over her. She's doing the best she can. I find her delightful. I find her super enjoyable to watch. I love her interviews. I didn't think she would have been great as Phaedra. I would have loved to see her as Phaedra. I get why she didn't do it because she doesn't know anything about Phaedra, which I thought was kind of an odd thing that Rue kept pushing Crystal to be El DeBarge. Doesn't know who El DeBarge is. Like, I don't understand. Like, I think that would have been a terrible choice. Would it have been as bad as Poppy? Possibly. I don't know who El DeBarge is. She doesn't know who El DeBarge is. I guess you would just pick a strong character and make El DeBarge a, you know, an 80s vegan hippie. I don't know. I don't know what that choice was about. So I thought that was a really bizarre. I guess they bought the rights to that Rhythm of the Night song and they just want to play it every episode because they already paid for it. So anyway, hit me up in the comments. I'm sorry if you disagree. You're more than welcome to disagree. And to make it really clear, I still love Jackie. I still love Gigi. What I'm just hoping to see is that maybe they back off a little bit from picking on some of the weaker girls and just focus on their own stuff. So there you go. Bye.